worth of real estate assets. I'm also a trainer and speaker for the National Commercial Real Estate Association. So for those that are interested in doing commercial, you can check out our website at thencra.com. I'm also a number one best-selling author on Amazon, and I'm also a tax deed expert, and that's why you guys are all here. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into the presentation because I know some of you are on the East Coast and it's late. So I'm going to just get right into the program. So today we're going to talk about tax deeds first because I do see a few new people on here. So those that have been on this call for tax deeds, you might want to go do something for probably about 5 or 10 minutes and come back. And we're going to talk about overages at the end of the presentation, closer to the end of the presentation. So let's just go into tax deeds. So there's 3 ways that you can make money with tax deeds. Number 1 is the auction, which is very obvious. Number 2 is the over-the-counter, and number 3 is overages. Now, the reason why I chose tax deeds and how I began helping others is because there's a lot of people that want to get into real estate and they have limited funding. And so this is a perfect opportunity for you to make money or invest in real estate with not a lot of funds. So this is how I always tell people, the more money you have to put in, the more money you can make. But either way, I've experienced doubling, tripling, and quadrupling my money with low investments and high investments. So we're going to talk about what are the most common mistakes that most beginners make. The first thing is not having the proper knowledge. You think you know, but then you really don't, and then you forget something because you don't actually have the right tools or the right process to actually execute to purchase a tax deed, which leads to not asking the right questions. Because one of the things that my 3 years of experience doing this is that I noticed that all the counties are different. So it's really important to ask the right questions and also to do your research properly. And I want you guys to understand that this type of business is heavily in research. And if you research properly, you will not lose with this type of investment. And the last thing that most beginners think is that you need a real estate license, and you do not. So that's one of the things that most people say that they think is true, but it's not. So just wanted to say those are some of the things that most beginners have. And so now I'm going to talk about the solutions that I'm going to provide for you today. First, I'm going to give you the very first step that points you into the right direction, which is finding the county that you want to invest in. And I will show you how to do that later on in this call. I'll also show you how to find the right information once you find the county, who to call, how to get a property, and the list, and then how to increase your cash flow. So let's talk about tax deeds and tax liens. Now, when I first got into this business, I called everything a tax lien because I did not know that there was a difference, but there actually is a difference. Tax deeds, there's 2 types of tax deeds. You have your straight tax deeds and you have your redeemable tax deeds. Now, your straight tax deeds in some states, if you win the bid or you buy it over the counter, you automatically get immediate ownership to that property. Whereas in redeemable tax deeds, you're offered the possession during the redemption period, meaning you will get the deed after the redemption period. So what does redemption period mean? Redemption period simply means if the property is homesteaded or non-homesteaded, there's a period in which an owner has the opportunity to come back and collect the deed. Now, some people would ask, okay, how is that? What happens then if I get the deed during the redemption period? Well, what ends up happening is there's a return on your investment. So say you buy a redeemable tax deed and the owner comes back and says, you know what, I want to get my property back. Well, they would have to pay you whatever you paid at the auction plus, well, in Texas, it's 25%, California, it's 18%. So that's another reason why I enjoy tax deeds, because it's a win-win situation. Whereas tax liens is simply a security certificate, which you have interest in the real property. So you don't actually get the property, you basically get a piece of paper. And the tax liens have short and long-term redemption periods. It just depends on what state you're in. And also the percentage rate will vary too from state to state. So if you're here for tax liens, I do not do tax liens. I only do tax deeds because I like having the property, whereas in tax liens, you don't get the property right away. You pretty much have to wait to see if they're going to redeem it. If they don't, then you have to file paperwork to foreclose on the property. So I felt like that's way too much work. So I'd rather just only focus on tax deed properties. So that leads me to, what are tax deed properties? Well, tax deed properties are only going to be in tax deed states. So the tax deed states are in red. The yellow ones are the redeemable deeds. Remember, there's redemption periods. And then your blue states are hybrid states where you have tax deeds and you have tax liens. So it just really depends on what county you're investing in. And of course, all the green states are your tax lien states where you're basically holding that piece of paper in hopes that the owner comes back and redeems the property. So there's 5 simple steps to investing in tax deeds. And this is kind of a framework of what my program looks like. I go a little bit more into detail, but these are the 5 basic steps. It's 5 simple steps. This is the same process that I utilize when I'm purchasing my tax deeds. First, I research the county I want to invest. Secondly, I locate the property tax deed list after I've located the county. And then I research and vet the properties to see what they look like, what type of condition that they're in. And then the 4th step is I determine if I'm going to go to the auction, what my maximum bid price will be. Now, if I'm not going to the auction and I'm doing over the counter, you don't have to worry about a maximum bid price because with over the counter deeds, the price is stated. So you don't have to worry about getting overbidded or having to evaluate what's your maximum bid price. The last step is you get the property free and clear. Now remember, I said there's a straight deed and then there's redeemable tax deed. So depending upon what state you're investing in, you eventually get this property free and clear. So now I'm going to go into the resources to find all the counties. So right here, it's called publicrecords.online search. I'm going to bring this up for those that are here for the overages. This is the same process that you can utilize. You would click right here. Here's all the states that you could pretty much look for to find the county. So I'm just going to, just for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to click Texas. And then it's going to give me all the counties in Texas. As you guys can see, here's all the counties in Texas. I was working with someone in Baxter the other day. I'm just going to click that. And then you're going to click select a category. Oh, no, what's it? You want to select the category and you want to click assessor and property tax records. And see right here, it gives you the place you need to contact right here. And so this is where you would start. Well, actually it's right here because it says delinquent taxes foreclosure. So this is the phone number you will call. This is also a phone number where you can start and get pointed in the direction also for the overages. So the reason why I'm doing them together is because the research is somewhat similar. So now that you know where to go to actually find the state and then find the county you want to invest in, now I'm going to go back to a place where they have free tax deed sale lists. Now this is only for Texas, and there are several other websites that you can utilize to get a free list of properties, but I'm going to just do Tarrant because I thought this was the first place I invested in when I moved to Texas. I wonder what this red thing is on my screen. Okay, I don't know. Hope that's not distracting anyone. So this is Tarrant County in Texas. And as you guys can see, it has 369 properties of tax deeds. What I teach my students is to click over here and I go from the minimum bid. And so the minimum bid is $540. Martin Luther King Way. Oh my God, I like that place. I haven't been on here in a minute. So basically, this is basically a list. It starts from the lowest to the highest. So this is just another way of finding a list. This is all pretty much Texas. I do offer other places. Especially in my group, like for the people that are on for California, it's bid for assets. There are some other resources that are in my course for other states. But let me just show you, I like this site the best because you can actually get all the details you need on this property. This is what's shown on Google Maps. It's not actually a property, it's land. And remember I talked about the estimated minimum bid, and this is the adjusted value right here. Now, 9 times out of 10, this value is always conservatively low. So I always tell people to go to different websites like Zillow, Trulia. If you're not an agent, you can use the public websites to really find the true value of a property. And then that way you're able to determine what the estimated minimum, the maximum bid that you want to make. But this is the minimum bid. So this is what it actually opens up at the auction. So I'm going to go back now. And I have a question for someone. Oh man, I clicked on it too fast. Okay, I was gonna ask you guys, does anybody know what's the cheapest you think you could buy a tax deed, but my hand slipped too quick. So anyway, this is actually one of the lowest properties I found. Now this is in Missouri, St. Louis, and they have all their stuff on the website as well. So this is something you can click on the website, and they have a list. Just it's a little bit different format than the one I just showed you. So I just screenshotted this because it took a few steps to get here. But I wanted to show this as a way of letting people know that it's a budget. There's a tax deed property for every budget is basically what I'm going to say. And I like to tell people that if you're going to buy something for $102, you're not going to more than likely make $10,000, but you can make $500 depending on the value of this property. Now, I will be going to Missouri soon because that is one of the states that I notice that has a lot of physical properties. So this is a good state for those that are interested in doing tax deeds. Missouri is also a hybrid state, even though I think on the map it said it's a tax lien state, but Missouri is a hybrid state. So it just really depends on what county you're investing in. And this is actually in St. Louis. So why did this come up? Oh, we already covered this. No, it isn't. So once you have found a property that you want, a lot of times my students say, okay, I finally got my tax deed. Now what do I do? And so what I love about this business and this niche investment strategy is that you get to pick and choose how you want to deal with the property, meaning you could either do a fix or flip, you can do a buy and hold, you could do a wholesale. And some of you might have saw my video. I brought a property sight unseen. Well, it was actually a vacant lot for $250, and I thought I was going to use advertising space. So I just threw that in there because sometimes you'll find properties and you think that there's a house on it, and then there's nothing there, and it's just land. I was just talking to a student today, and I personally feel like land is the most profitable because most of the time they have to pay all cash, number one. And then number two, you don't have to worry about the fix up costs and, doing an appraisal to find the value. Land is land, and land is going to be subjected to what the houses are sold in the area. So a lot of times if you're going to be doing over the counter, depending on what state and county, you will pick up more land than you will property. However, like I said, Missouri, I noticed they have a lot of actual physical properties. So does anybody have any questions so far?
Okay, I'm taking questions.
No questions? All right. I'll just keep moving ahead, which probably half of you guys are waiting for.
We have one question.
Okay.
Can you explain the GIS map?
Yes. So the GIS map is pretty much, it gives you what I like to use Google Earth. It kind of gives you the plot map of what the property looks like at a satellite view. Depending on the county, it also gives you the demographics of that lot and how many bedrooms, how many baths. Let me see what else. And it also gives you the square footage, but it's a good way, especially if you're, for example, I went to Vegas last month. And before I went there, I was looking for tax deed properties, and Vegas is a desert. And so I really couldn't figure out the land. And so I used the GIS map, and it actually helped plot out the land of that particular parcel. So a GS is pretty much, it's better use for land or vacant land when you're trying to really figure out like what are the parameters of it, or the land survey of that particular lot. Does that answer your question?
Okay, next, we have some questions coming in. Do you have to have a license to bid?
Yes, you have to have a bidder's permit. You don't have to have a license, like a real estate license, but you do have to have a bidder's permit. And there's been so many auctions that I've went to, and newbies are like, I wanted to bid, but they told me I couldn't do it. And that's one of the step processes that I teach in my courses. You have to know everything, all the rules and regulations about that county. So not a physical license, but you definitely have to have a permit. And don't think just because you get a permit to bid that you could just go to the auction. Once you do that, you then have to register with that permit at the auction. So I always advise people, if they're gonna go to the auction, and even if they don't think they're going to bid, I still say register, because you never know. That's how I got that $250 lot. I was really going to just survey that county, but I said, let me just get a bidder number anyway, and I ended up buying that lot.
And I also wanted to add that you have to get the bidder's permit a few days before the auction, right?
Yes. Some
Okay.
counties are like a week before. Just depends on the county.
Okay, next question is, can you go over the land being most profitable for the 2 reasons again?
Land is most profitable because you don't have to worry about the different steps as that you would as if you were purchasing a house. For example, you don't have to get an appraisal because there's nothing to appraise except for the lot. And also too, with land, 9 times out of 10 people have to pay cash. If they're not, they're getting a loan and they're having to come in with 50% down, which makes it more easier for people to purchase. And I don't know if some of you saw my videos, but I'm finding here in Texas, when I buy land, people are always inquiring about, can I put a manufactured or modular home? So I decided to look into that to see like, okay, why are people asking me about this modular home? I wanted to get more information so that I could be more educated with my next lot. And what I found is that you could pretty much buy a lot. And what was that, Lorraine? What was that? Was it 1,800 square feet that we saw?
For the house?
Yes, that was a
Yeah.
modular manufactured home. Yes.
Yep.
So you could get all of that, including a lot, for under $150,000.
Yeah.
So that's why people were calling me about my lot. And so you don't have to worry about all that if you get the land, if you're purchasing land. You don't have to worry about is there any fix-up costs? What do you have? You don't have to evaluate anything. There's nothing to negotiate. It's pretty straightforward. And I personally, when I'm dealing with new tax deed clients, I tell them to focus on land first, because it's simple and you actually get to understand the process, because a lot of the people that I work with have never purchased a home. So it's a lot easier explaining the process after they purchase, how to resell it, because they don't have to wait to get a lender. They don't have to wait for a pre-approval. Pretty much everything's straightforward.
Okay, next question is, What website to find properties for California?
Bid for assets.
I'll write that in the chat box. Bid for assets, and it's the number 4. So it's bid for assets. Next question is, what is a good budget to put aside to invest?
Okay, so let me tell you what my thoughts are. I would say it depends on how much return you want to get because, for example, I'm working on a piece of land for $40,000 and I didn't want to tie up all my cash. Now that piece of land could actually sell for 200,000. So I don't want to put all my money in there, but I feel like that's a good profit, right? So I looked for an investor or a partner to go with me. So it's really hard to say if you're doing it solo. There's so many variables that are involved with that because I mean, I had a student that only had a $500 budget and he brought his first tax deed for $300, but he's in Texas in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know. I've never been there before. But you can probably get that all day in his county. Matter of fact, I pulled up a list and it was like 10 tax deeds for $320 and $350. So it really depends on where you are, your proximity to where you can invest.
Okay, and then if you have any more state-specific questions, please book the consult. I put the link in the chat box. Next question is, when buying land, do you have to know about soil, water, electric leading to the property before selling it?
You want to talk about that, Lorraine? We have
Go
a
ahead.
funny story. So when we first bought our first lot, people, I think you don't necessarily have to know, but I think it's advisable to have a little knowledge. And I'll give you a little background story. On my very first lot, I got into contract and the buyer came back to me and said, you know what? It doesn't have water and sewer. And I automatically, because I'm in real estate, I've always been taught if there's houses around that area, water and sewer is in place, but that's not necessarily true. But that means that they don't have to dig a wrench. Anyway, to make a long story short, the guy was like, I need to knock $5,000 off your price because I'm going to have to do sewer and water to this lot. So you know what, I didn't have any clue. I didn't know about soil, land, or anything like that. So I called the county and I was like, hey, what would it cost for me to get utilities out on this lot? And I gave them the address and they told me it was $300.
$300.
So you don't necessarily have to know everything, but this is what I will tell you. I put this in my in the group the other day. It's really important to know the zoning if you're going to buy land, because you don't want to buy land and it's zoned agriculture and people are asking you, can they put a house on there? It's not zoned for that. So, and unless you're trying to, you know, buy land to build gas stations, that's where soil and all that stuff comes into play.
Okay. So, are there any more questions? Let me know if this is helpful. You can give some feedback. We're not going to bite. Give some feedback. Let us know if this is helpful. If you know this already. Very helpful. Thanks. Good to know. Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to talk about overages. Now, this is how you can make money without going to the auction. And I'll be honest with you guys, some of my students that I'm helping, because the auctions have been closed, now the over-the-counter lists are far and few between in certain counties. And, you know, my goal is really to help people you know, get out of the rat race or to do whatever their end goal is. And so I was talking to one of my students and I said, you know what, maybe you should just focus on overages right now, because she had a very limited a budget and she had researched 3 counties and none of those counties fit within her budget. So I was telling her she should do overages because it doesn't require you to purchase anything. You don't need good credit. And you don't need cash. All you need is your time and research. I don't know how much I can stress this, but it's really important to do the research. And that's why I combine them together, because if you understand the tax deed research, you'll be really good with the overage research, because it's almost parallel. It's really similar. So I felt like the students that were in certain areas, like my California people, I have something for y'all tonight. You guys will not believe it. That's why I'm so tired, and I didn't want to get on the screen because I was pulling my hair out, trying to, you know, add value for you guys. So I know there's some people in California, and you'll be amazed what I'm going to tell you tonight about an overage that I discovered in one of the counties. So basically, you could make money without going to the auction and never buying a tax deed. And so I'm going to explain what these different types of names are used statewide. And every county has a different terminology, but they all mean the same. So they call them tax deed surplus, they call them tax deed excess, and then they call them tax deed overbids. And of course, a lot of people call them tax deed overages. Now, you can't just call 5 different counties and ask for a tax deed overage, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, we don't do overages. And then you have to ask, well, do you do surplus? So these are like 4 different names. If you're going to try to research it on your own, that will come up. So you're not going to find overages in every county. They might be surplus, or it might be excess funds. I was researching one county earlier today for a client, and it was basically, it was the tax deed result of the bid. So there's so many different terminologies, but these are the 4 main terminologies that are used in the overage space. So let me explain to you what overages actually mean and how you can have your own overage business and make some serious money. So basically, like I was showing you that property in Texas, like they have the minimum bid. So every auction will have a minimum bid. And what that minimum bid is basically what that person owes the county. So anything above the minimum bid is considered overage. So I just had a simple instruction here. Just say this property right here, the minimum bid was $5,000 and it sold at the auction for $50,000. The overage is $45,000. Now catch this. Now, if your house went to the auction, do you think you would ever be able to get any money back because you didn't pay your taxes? And so this is what a lot of people don't know, is that there's trillions and billions of dollars of overage to collect, because most homeowners don't know that they have the right to collect on the overages. So who can collect these funds? Because I get this question a lot. So they're like, so if the owner actually has the right to it, who can actually collect these funds? Well, in some counties, only the owner can. And in other counties, it's a third party like you and I. We can collect, and then attorneys do this as well. Some attorneys, they have counties that's all they do is that county. So these are the 3 people that can actually collect the funds of the overage. Now, the first one is the owner. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, most owners do not know that they could collect this overage, and that's why you can create your own business, and you'd be surprised about how many people that don't know this. So let's talk about the overage process. This is a simple step-by-step process, and I like to use steps because I don't know if some of you guys would agree with me, but there's a lot of information out there. I mean, you have YouTube, you have different courses, and you could get sometimes overwhelmed with all this information, and you really don't know where to begin or where to start, or, you know, just a simple process. So that's really what I offer in my course. And when I'm teaching, I do things in steps and processes. So you could kind of like, I'm like a check off the box type of girl. I'm like, okay, got that done, got that done. So I'm going to go over this overage process. So the first thing is to get the overage list, which is kind of like what I just showed you in the beginning, where you go look at the state and you find the county and you find the number and you call the person to get the list. You can do that for your over the counter as well as overages. So I'm like, hey, why not do both of them at the same time? You can double your probability of trying to do both of them at the same time. One of them is actually going to pay out. I just feel like overages pay out a lot more because you don't have to do any investment. The second step, and I don't know if some of you guys saw my Facebook post. But the second step is to sort a list from the highest to the lowest overage dollar amount. So I was in Sacramento last week, and there was like only 5 properties, but I went for the highest one because I'm like, if I'm going to spend my time, I want to go for the highest one. And it was $244,000. And so I'm working with the owner right now to negotiate the price, because I'm like, if I'm going to do all this work, I want to get about 50%. So that's another whole story, but you get to negotiate what percentage you want with the owner. It just depends on how willing that owner is with the percentage. The third step is to get the paperwork, the contracts, and the documents. So I'm going to give you guys a little insight. Like Sacramento, and every county is going to be different. Now, Sacramento has the list, but they don't give you the paperwork. It's not for the public. So that's why I was knocking on the owner's door, because I actually need the owner's help, because they will not give me the documents. So some counties have them and some of them don't. So that's the third step. You definitely want to get that before you actually find the owner, because if they're not going to have it publicly ready available, then you kind of have to do a workaround with the owner. So that's why I was really knocking on her door. So the fourth step is then to find the original owner. Let me explain this to you. So the property is being sold at the auction. So there is a new owner on record. That's not who you want to contact. You want to contact the original owner before it was sold at the auction. So you have to be very careful with that. And you could find that, somebody asked about the GIS. Normally you find the GIS on the tax assessor's account website, and that's also where you would find the chain of title for the ownership of that specific property. Step 5 is to build credibility through professional contact information. So if you guys go look at my video, I was showing you me texting her, and the thing that she responded back was, "Are you licensed?" And I forgot the other thing. Oh, she said, "What's my fee?" And so luckily I already have a corporation, I have a website, I'm kind of set up already. But if I wasn't, I might have lost the credibility with her. So I would suggest, if you're serious about doing this overage process, I would suggest, getting business cards so that you can leave at the door, a dedicated phone number. So like if they call, or if you wanted to send out mailers, you actually have a dedicated line specifically for that business, because you don't want to be scammy. You know what I mean? You don't want to have a number and then you have music in the background. They're not going to take you seriously. And I also would suggest, building a simple website with just some basic information. So if they wanted to look you up, they could do that. So I put that as my 5th step, because I think that's important. And then the step 6 is to submit the claim with the agency that is holding the funds. And then step 7 is just waiting for approval to receive the check. Now I'm going to tell you, that's why I had to come home, because I'm like, where's my check at? I wanted to know where my check was. And what I'm finding is, like, some of these counties are so low staffed that it's taking time. So the process probably before COVID was probably a lot quicker than it is now. So there is a process and there's a waiting period, and that's something you should ask at the county. And if you do decide to purchase my course, you'll see how I reiterate to get all the information about the county up front. So you're never guessing. You'll have all the questions that you need to ask the county. So when things come up, you'll already have the information.
We do have some questions on the floor if you'd like to take them.
Okay.
What did you use to find the overage list in Sacramento?
What did I use to find the overage? Girl, that's a secret.
Okay.
But so it's not a secret. So I basically knew the right questions to ask. And the very first step that I showed you guys of the website, which was not public auctions. I can't even remember the website right now. But the first website that I showed you, should I go back?
We are recording this meeting, so we'll post the playback on YouTube as well.
Okay, so the first site that I showed you, I think it's public records, where you would just go and you click on the state and the county, and then I showed you where it had the assessors, the tax collection assessors. I called that number, and then I asked a series of questions, and then they led me to where I needed to go, and that's how I got the list.
Next question is, what is the length of time that you can recoup overages for original owners?
So every state is different. California is 1 year and Texas is 2 years. And I've only done them in those states. Every state is different.
I am interested in Nevada deeds. Can I do this in Nevada, or is this a state where they only allow the homeowner to collect?
I don't think Nevada has it. It's not on my list.
Yeah, I don't think Nevada is an overage state.
Yeah. Well, it is an overage. Every state has an overage, but Nevada doesn't allow third party.
Third party is what I meant, yes.
Yeah.
I spoke to someone from the assessor's office in LA County, and they said they will call the original owner and let them know about the overage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. You want to know? That is not true, because the lady's door that I knocked on, I was like, well, did you get a piece of paper? And she was like, no. And to be honest, I pretend to be that lady when I called the county recorders, and they said, oh, we mailed it. We mailed it and let you know that you had $244,000. I said, really? I said, what address did you mail it to? And they were like, oh, we can't disclose that information. So, and then if you think about it, if that house is going to auction, where are they mailing those forms to? They're probably mailing it to that address that they just sold. So 9 times out of 10, they're not really mailing it to the owner, and that's why the owner does not know.
For the past owner, I guess, does the owner need to sign a limited power of attorney?
Yes, she does. Well, yes and no, depends on the county, and I'll get into that.
Okay. So the original owner contact information available somewhere specific?
Say that again, the original.
Is the original owner contact information available somewhere specific?
No, I think Facebook is good. I use Spokio, and it led me to another site, and I was able to get her number and her address where she currently lived. So that is a part of the process. You will have to skip trace some of these owners. Meaning, and skip trace means you have to actually go on a hunt. That's why I said this is really good for those that are actually researching. Like, you like to research and find stuff, because they're not giving you the numbers. That's what they're not going to do.
Google is our friend, folks. Okay, no more questions? We can move forward.
Which is a good question that person asked, do they provide the owner's name? So all these lists from these different counties, they're not created equally. So this is what you need from the overage list. And I'm going to go and show you some examples, but you need the original owner's name, you need the address, you need the winning bid amount, and you also need the minimum bid amount. And you also need the overage collection redemption period for that state. So like I said, California is 1 year, Texas is 2 years. Those are the only 2 states, but I haven't seen anybody that does more than 2 states, but I don't know which state is which, if it's 1 or 2 in other states. I don't know.
Missouri is actually 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. And they hold it in a fund to be distributed to the schools if they don't come collect. There is one more question. What happens if you cannot find the owner?
Yeah, that part. That's you
move
have
on to the next house.
Yeah.
What's the profit potential?
The profit potential is astronomical. So I'm just going to go into that so you guys can see. So remember, I said all lists aren't created equal. So I'm going to go into Arizona's list first. And as you guys can see, this is Arizona's overbid. You see overbid expired, unable to send to the state yet. These are kind of old. Let's see, did they have any other years in here? So yeah, these are kind of old. But as you can see, this list, it only has the account number and the overbid amount. So this doesn't have the owner's name or the owner's address. So you pretty much would have to take this account number, find out the county, and look it up on the tax assessors under the county to get all that information. So if you're lazy, somewhat like me, where you're like, I don't want to do all this extra work, I will move on to another county. So now we're going to go to Florida. Now this is Florida's, and you see this is from May 2020, and you see they have a little bit more information. They have the original owner's name. They also have the parcel ID number, because sometimes they will ask that on the forms. I'll get into that later in the call. And then they have the actual overage balance. So see, you guys are asking like, what's the price? They range, and that's why I said it's important. I would say start from the highest to the lowest, because you're doing the same work. But as you can see these lists, there's plenty of properties to go around to target owners, especially if you can't find one. And this is California. This is Contra Costa's overage list. And see, they have bid for assets. Like mostly all of California's bid for assets. Now see, this is Contra Costa. Now this is their minimum bid, you guys, like 201,000, 305,000. So they don't give you the overbid price, but could you imagine if the minimum bid is 305, what the overage amount might be? So this, once again, it gives you the owner's name, and it gives you the minimum bid, and it gives you the parcel number, but you haven't seen an address yet, right? So you would have to look this up in the county, but you see how all the lists are not created equal. There's different lists for every county. And last but not least, my favorite state is Texas. And this is one of Texas lists. Now I like this county because it's a small county. As you can see, and you can kind of tell if it's like a hit county, because look at the overage balance is like 1,000, 2,000. I think the highest on this list, oh, here goes one for 136, but that's 2014. So you have to watch and see. Like this list is pretty detailed because it tells you the original receipt date, like which is 2014. So we would want to scroll down to at least 2018, and we would probably start here. Well, this is even almost too late, September 2018, because remember, it's a 2-year redemption. So you also want to know when things are recorded and when the redemption to actually access the funds. So this tells you like who the owner is, and then actually who you would actually go to actually get the check from, which is Lineberger. They actually use an attorney. So this is Texas list. And so I wanted to just show you guys this so you could get an idea of all the lists are different. So do I have any questions so far?
Yeah, one question is, how long does it take for property go to tax auction in California?
It depends on, I believe California is 2 years, but they have a redemption period. They have a very long redemption period.
Right,
but
they have a 2-year redemption period.
Yeah, but it's 2 years after they don't pay their taxes. But I'm glad you asked that question too, because someone asked me today on a call, they were like, how are you getting these properties free and clear? Well, California, a lot of properties have a lot of equity in them. So most of the time, the list, depending on what county you are, because we know of one county where there's tons of properties, right, Lorraine? But it really depends on the county, because if there's high-end homes, 9 times out of 10, the mortgage is going to pay for the taxes. They're not going to let them go to the auction. So it just really depends on the county.
Are there any more questions? Please drop them in the chat box. Is it more difficult if the property was in a trust?
No. Not if it's getting foreclosed.
Any more questions, please drop them in the chat box. What is more profitable, buying tax deeds or going for overage?
I say the most profitable is overages, because you're not investing any of your own capital. You're just investing your time.
Okay, any more questions?
Wait, okay. So there's 3 forms that you need in order to collect funds. You need an assignment fee contract, and I'm gonna show you a sample of that.
I'm
And then
sorry,
you
Mika,
need
there's like one more question in here. Would you like to
okay,
take it or no?
I'll take it.
Okay. I'm coming, you guys. So, okay, so you bid on properties but don't have to pay if you win the bid for overages?
You're not bidding on any properties for overages. Overages are already bidded and sold to the next investor or buyer. You're basically collecting the overage of what they paid. Remember, I talked about the minimum bid was $5,000, and the winner of that auction purchased that home for $50,000. So there's $45,000 left over. So you would go help collect, you would help the owner collect that $45,000. You don't have to buy or sell anything. All you're doing is selling your services and research.
Okay. Does the bidder's permit for text expire? Yes, the bidder's permits do expire. If you find a list that says final excess list for February 2020 and it doesn't include bids, what does that mean?
If it doesn't include bids, but you found a list, does it have any numbers on it? You might have not found the right one.
It says final excess list. So yeah, that's probably what the excess funds are. What sites do you use for skip tracing? We already answered that. It's Spokeo and Google.
And been verified is also.
Been verified is another one.
And Facebook too. You'd be surprised. You could find people.
Yeah, you can put phone numbers in Facebooks and find people. What forms are needed for overages in regards to fulfill county and with the original owner?
Well, that's what I'm about to get into. I guess I'll answer that. So you basically need an assignment fee contract. That's you representing the owner as a third party. You need a contingency fee form, which is you and the buyer so that they won't circumvent you, meaning you are going to come to an agreement with the owner that you're going to collect the funds for a certain percentage. And then someone asked about, I think, probate, or like if they can't find the owner, or trust. Sometimes you do have to use a power of attorney or an affidavit. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to show you a sample of the form. This is Contra Costa, by the way. And I like Contra Costa because it's simple. Some of these counties will not have it, and then you could use a form like this and recreate it. But as you can see right here, it says, I, the assigner, I think Janet's on this call, but say Janet was the owner of a property, and then she hereby assigns it to me, and then she's basically giving me the right to apply and to collect the excess proceeds from the sale assessor's parcel number. So if you guys notice that some of the lists had the parcel number and some of them didn't. So you definitely need to know that. And then you put the amount right on this little part right here. And it says, although I have a right to all or the portion of the excess proceeds, I am voluntarily giving up my right to file a claim for them. For valuable consideration received, I have sold my right to collect any excess proceeds to the assignee. Because you don't want to do all this work and then the check goes to the owner. So the owner is assigning it over to you to go collect the funds. Now, what a lot of newbie people say is they tell them where they can go get them, and then they don't need you anymore. You don't want to tell them that. And I have scripts that tell you what to say. You don't want to tell them, well, you got money over here. You don't tell them all of that. You basically give them this form and you're letting them know that they're giving up their rights. And 9 times out of 10, people are afraid. They don't know how to fill these forms. And most of the time, they don't even believe you because they're like, well, it went to auction. They don't even know the law. So this is what the assignment to give the right. So this is what the owners would do. They would sign this to give you the rights to collect the funds. So like when you do all the paperwork, the check is coming to you, and you have to be a good citizen and make sure that you follow through on your promise. So they would sign this, and then you would, this is you saying that you're assigning the right to collect the excess proceeds. So this is you signing the form. And of course, you do need a notary for most of these documents. So someone was asking what type of forms. This is part of the forms that you would need to get it assigned over to you. And so this is how you would know also too if this county does third party, because right here it's showing that they're allowing third parties to come collect on behalf of the owner. So this is just an example, and all the counties are different, but this is just an example of one of them. Do I have any questions?
There's no questions on the floor, just anymore.
Okay. So that pretty much.
If we have any feedback, you guys can let us know. Is this helpful? Is this new information, old information? Let us know. Drop it in the comment box. We need to hear back. Very helpful.
So you have three options. You could do nothing, or you could figure it out on your own, or you could work with me to guide you through the process. But one of the things that I'm really focused, my goal when I started doing this online course, is that I wanted to change, well, I'm in the process. I really want to change 10 people's lives. I want to make a difference. And so I'm learning that there's certain type of people that that would be ideal for this type of business. One is someone that has a lot of time, which means they lost their job, they're used to working, and they have all the time in the world to start researching. Then you have your people that just want to create multiple streams of income, and they have time to research. Also remote workers, now that they're at home, they can also do this to supplement their income. And I also had talked to a guy today. He said, I'm ready to retire. I just need something to do. So if you're trying to transition into retirement, this is also advisable. And then just simple cash flow. I mean, really all you're doing with Overage is investing your time and your research. And of course, you have to know how to fill in the blanks, like I just showed you on that form. And then another thing is generational opportunity. If some of you guys have some 14 or 15-year-olds at home, have them do the research. And then you just, put the paper together and you make the phone calls. So this could be something like a family business. If you really wanted to really do this and make an extra 50 or 100,000, I'm gonna tell you guys this. When I was in Sacramento, the lady, I was calling her from Texas and she kept hanging up. So I wanted to go knock on her door. And then I was also upset that the county told me no. And I don't like when people tell me no. So I was motivated because I'm like, all I got to do is knock on her door and I could potentially make $100,000. I don't know about you, but I knock on her door all day, every day. So we're in communication just from me knocking on her door. So she was a harder one to get on the phone. So that's why I went over there. But you would be surprised. And this is what I love about this business in COVID and Corona. People are losing their jobs. A lot of things are uncertain right now. And wouldn't it feel good if you could call someone and tell them that they have money owed to them? Just think about that. You can also be helping other people as well while you're helping yourself. And I always tell people, you got to make it about them, but you're actually getting help. You're helping yourself as well. But I don't know about you. That lady was just like, really? She's like, okay, but I think she wanted to do some research on me. So I'm letting her do her research. But that's what I think, who's ideal for this business. And I do offer a course, and these are my programs. Now, like I said before, I combine the tax deed in the overage program, but these are just my tax deed only, which the basic is it's regularly $397. I'm offering it because I know that there's some friends I have on here. I'm offering $100 off. And for the basic, you're basically just getting the information. So you'll get a step-by-step checklist, also comes with videos, and you get 6-month group coaching. So you can call every month and be on a group coaching call, and you can email me if you have any questions and answers in between time. That's our very basic. It's normally $397. I'm offering at $297 today. And then I have the deluxe tax deed where you get the same in the basic. The only difference is we're doing 101. so that I can help you navigate a little bit more and assist you with the counties if you actually are having problems with a different county. And I don't know, some people need coaching and some people don't. And that is regularly $797. I'm offering that for $697 if you use the discount code FRIENDS. And then for my premium, is the tax deed and the overage. So you're gonna get everything that you would get in the deluxe. You'll get the step-by-step checklist, you'll get the videos, you'll get 2 personal one-on-ones, you'll also get the 6 months group coaching call, so you could basically talk to me probably like 2 times in a month. And then also I'm gonna give you a list of all the states that offer third party, so you don't have to do that research on your own. I'm also gonna give you the contract for fee to the owner, so that's something you don't have to figure out. And then I also am gonna give you scripts so you'll know what to say. Now, I took a program, an overage program, probably like 2 years ago, and I was looking at it and it's a little outdated. And one of the things that, I don't know about you guys, some of you guys may have been on here where you have purchased programs and you go home and it's just overwhelming, right? You just don't know. You're like, I paid all this money and I don't know where to begin. Well, in this premium package, like I said, I really want to change at least 10. I've changed 4 so far through this program. And so I'm going to keep these prices this way until I get to my 10. And I've had really good success. But what I wanted to say is that I did create a quick start package in this premium, which means that I'm going to give you a list and I'm going to give you the forms. Now, I don't know anybody else that's offering this. Most of the time, they're not giving you the tools. They're telling you how to do it. And I don't know anybody, this is for somebody. I don't know who this is for, but I went on Alameda County today, and this is in this premium package. And one of the overages is $400,000. $400,000. And it's going to be in the quick start list and form. So you already have the list and you already have the form. And when I tell you guys I've been sleeping, I've been so inundated in Texas that I forgot about my hometown. Like I was raised, I wasn't born there, but I was raised in California, and I could not believe that there's overage amounts that high. So I included that. It's Alameda County, and then I also included a county in Texas, and I believe in Orange County as well. So you already have the list, so you don't have to go looking for it, and you already have the forms. Now, I'm not gonna sell you any wooden nickels, but I'm giving you a jump start so that you don't even have to go do the research. All you have to do is now find the owner and contact them. So I'm giving you a jump start so you don't have, I'm kind of taking out half of the work for you. And I was talking to my coach today, and he was like, you're offering way too low. But I'm like, I really want to help people, and I really believe the more I give is the more I receive. So I normally offer $997, and I'm discounting it for $897. I don't know who needs this program, and I don't know who's in the Bay Area that can utilize this. But like I said, this is not for everybody. It's for someone that does have some time to put in the research, in the effort to do it. So I don't want you buying the course if you're not going to use it. That's what I don't want. I really want to change someone's life and make a difference. So I hope
put the contact slide on there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is what where you could purchase the course. This is my website, mikacoleman.com. You guys also could subscribe to my YouTube page at Leverage $1 Million Blueprint. And then if you guys are a part of my Facebook group, Tax Deed Education and Tax Deed Investments, I will be dropping knowledge there on a daily basis. Do I have any questions? No questions? Remember, the coupon code is FRIENDS if you guys want to sign up. Any more questions, Lorraine?
We don't have any more questions. Are you guys awake? Nicole, you still here from New York? I know it's late over there. I know it's late, everyone, but we're in here. We're quarantining still, right? How
Well,
fast can the turnaround time be on an overage?
it really depends on the county. Like I started one in May and I still haven't got my check. And then I did one in another county. It was a smaller county and it took me 60 days.
Okay.
So it really depends on the county. And then also too, you know, with COVID, sometimes it may take longer than usual. It just really depends. But that's something you would want to ask when you call the county.
Thank you. Everyone's saying good stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was awesome. The Facebook page. Oh, Mika, can you expand your PowerPoint? They said they can't read the Facebook page. What if another third party is also trying to collect the same overage?
Oh, that's a good one. They will probably have that on, I'm sure they will have that on file, but there's honestly no way.
And usually the owner probably more times than any doesn't even know, so it's probably not happening. How many counties are in the, oh, this is amazing info. Thank you so much.
I was going to also say too that a lot of people don't know about this. And if they do, they just don't execute it because it does require some time and research. I guess it's more easier for me because I know how to do the research, but a lot of people don't really invest the time to do it. So it's not that many people out there doing this. It's more so attorneys, if anybody.
This is exciting. Thanks for staying on, Nicole. I know it's late over there in New York. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, if you would like to get the course, please visit www.Mika, can you go back to one slide? MikaColeman.com, please. Click the big button in the middle of the webpage that says book here, and you'll be able to go and see the course. MikaColeman.com. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, thank you so much, friends. Be sure to join our Facebook group. It's a community that we have built, and we talk about tax deeds and overages there, and we share tips and tricks and information. So please join our Facebook group. You all are so welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for staying. I'll stay on a little bit longer if you have any more questions.